Hello and welcome to our fourth and last video about the syntax of Avestan. In this video, we will engage with three more topics that belong to the domain of syntax: modality, interrogation, and information structure. So let us first look at some ways modality is expressed in Avestan. Deontic modality refers to the speaker's attitude towards the proposition made in a sentence. It basically expresses how the speaker thinks things should be. This often amounts to the utterance of a wish or a command. To express a wish in Avestan, the optative mood is commonly employed. This is the reason for the use of the optative chyama, may we be, in the following verse line from Gathas. Toi vaim chyama, yoi im ferashem kurenaun ahum. May we be, chyama, the ones who will make the world thriving. Wishes are negated by the negation noit. Noit daibitim dushsastish ahum miranchiat. Not a second time may the one of bad teaching ruin. May ruin is miranchiat, optative, the world. This is important because a different particle is used to negate commands, as we will see in a minute. A similar type of deontic modality, which however is expressed in ways different from wishes, are commands or exhortations. Here, the distinctive use of the aspect stems, present and aorist, is observable in Old Avestan. To command someone to do something once, the imperative of the aorist stem is used. To say that the person should keep doing something, the imperative of the present stem is used. As the aorist is not productive in Young Avestan anymore, Young Avestan has lost this distinction and uses the imperative present in either case. Let us look at some examples. First, from Old Avestan, Tat moi voucha ahura, tell me that, ahura or Lord, where the imperative of the aorist stem voucher is involved. And here the imperative refers to a single action. The speaker wants Ahura Mazda to tell him something specific and once. The present imperative in the second example is, by contrast, refers to a prolonged act of speaking without a predefined end. Vidvo vidushe mrautu. Let the knowing one speak, let's speak mrautu, to the knowing one, with the imperative of the present stem. The third example contains a double command in which both types of imperative are put in contrast. Gaidi, the imperative aorist, come, moi a moi rapa, with a rapa being the imperative present of the verb support. So, come to me and then keep supporting me. The first exhortation in the aorist refers to a single, self-contained act of coming, and the second one, in the imperative present, a rapa, refers to a subsequent extended period of support. The final example on the slide illustrates how in Young Avestan present imperatives are used to refer not only to continuous processes but to single events as well. Apa drush nase, with disappear, oh deceit, with nase being an imperative form of the present stem. In Old Avestan, we would expect the imperative of the aorist stem to appear in this case. In prohibitions or negative commands, the Old Avestan aspect stems are used to distinguish between preventive and inhibitive commands. Preventive prohibitions, that is, those in which the speaker expresses that something should not happen in the future, employ the aorist. Inhibitive commands, which indicate that the speaker wants some ongoing action to stop, employ the present. The negating particle used in negative commands of either sort is ma. So see the two examples on the slide, which illustrate this well. On the one side, ma ne dusche chachra chönta, let not those of bad rule, dusche chachra, assume rule over us, with chönta, assume rule being the injunctive of the aorist stem. A different device indicating deontic modality is the use of certain verbal adjectives. On the one hand, there are the gerundive formations in ya and thwa, which indicate that something should be the object of a certain verbal action. On the other hand, there are rare verbal adjectives in atta, which denote that it is regarded as possible or permissible to make something the object of a certain verbal action. Examples are the following. So from the verbal root var, gerundive varya is derived, which means someone or something that needs to be or should be chosen. Just like from the verb jan, to smash or kill, a gerundive is jothwa, to be killed, is derived. The gerundives are commonly used as attributes of nouns, as for example in the fixed expression chachra vairya, the kind of rule that is to be chosen. But the gerundives may also be employed as predicates of clause or of a clause, as in the two examples on the slide here. The first one is the beginning of the ahuna vairya formula, which is repeated countless times throughout the Avesta. Yatha, ahu vairyo, atha, ratush, and so on. This can be translated as it is to be chosen, vairyo, by the world, ahu, in the instrumental case, so, atha, the model. And I leave out the rest of the sentence because it is infamously difficult to translate. In the second example, the gerundive yothva too functions as the predicate of a clause. Yothva virka. The wolves, virka, are to be killed. Jothva. Having looked at some ways deontic modality is expressed in Avestan, we may now move on to the other major type of modality recognized in linguistics, epistemic modality. Epistemic modality is concerned with the speaker's confidence in the truthfulness or probability of the proposition at hand. In Avestan, the following means of marking various subtypes of epistemic modality may be pointed out. First, certain particles, such as bada, clearly, may be taken as marking epistemic modality, particularly evidentiality. Second, the optative mood, in its so-called potential use, can be regarded as expressing a epistemic possibility. This function of the optative, however, is often hard to distinguish from that of expressing wishes. See this example here. Daidi tat ahya ya tat upajamyama tavacha sarim ashachyacha vispai Yahweh. Give us, Daidi, that share of this, tat ahya, by which, we may attain, upa jamyama, here's the optative, the following, tat, union with you, tavacha sarim, and with asha, with true order, ashachyacha. Here one could argue that the use of the optative form upajamyama, we may attain, implies that the speaker regards it as possible that the desired union with you, that is, with the god Ahura Mazda and with Asha, the concept of true order, can be attained. But the statement may also represent a wish. A third possible way of expressing epistemic modality, in this case epistemic probability, is the subjunctive mood in its so-called prospective usage, which resembles that of a future tense form. Dargem aju temangho dushwarthem avaitas vacho temvo ahum drukvanto shiauthanaish chwaish daina naishat, which can be translated as a long time of darkness, bad food, the wailing of the voice, to this existence, O deceitful ones. Your mindset, vision, or daina, will lead you, naishat, through your actions. Assuming that the subjunctive implies epistemic probability, the use of the subjunctive expresses that the speaker regards the events depicted in the sentence as probable, if not certain. In fact, one may ask whether an element of subjective judgment is a distinct feature of the prospective subjunctive compared to its functional competitor, the future stem. In the second main section of the present video, I'd like to give you an idea of the basic features of interrogative sentences in Avestan. For content questions, Avestan employs a series of interrogatives, all of which are derived from an element with initial k, alternating with ch. Thus we find ka, chi, meaning who, kada, or in Young Avestan, kada, when, katha, or katha, how, and kuda, kuthra, where. In these examples we see some typical differences between Old and Young Avestan. For example, where Old Avestan has a voiced stop between vowels in kada, Young Avestan has a fricative kada. And the Old Avestan forms, which always are first mentioned here, show the typical lengthening of word final vowels, which we find in the Old Avestan text as they are transmitted to us. Avestan is a language with WH movement. This means that the interrogative is moved to the beginning of the sentence, no matter what its syntactical role is in the sentence. Thus we get questions like Kaibio, ranio skiritim gom tasho. For whom, Kaibio, did you shape, tasho, the joy-providing ranio skiritim cow, gom. Here the interrogative kaibio is fronted, whereas the Avestan rendering of an assertive sentence, I shaped the cow for the herdsman, for example, would probably go like this. Gom vastriai, with the indirect object following the direct object, tasham, I shaped the cow for the herdsman. Polar questions, that is, those which require either yes or no as an answer, are usually introduced by certain particles in Avestan. One such particle is kat, as in the first Old Avestan example on the slide. Kat, the interrogative particle, ashawa, vernhat, druk wantem. Shall the one partaking in Asha, Ashawa, overcome, vernhat, the adherent of deceit? And the interrogative particle appears in the beginning of the sentence. The second Young Avestan example features another particle, chim. So, chim, the particle, Ham Biritha, gatherings, Ham Barayama, shall we organize? Together, shall we organize gatherings? In the final part of our video, we turn to information structure. Languages employ different strategies for encoding information structure. These strategies include deviations from basic word order, also called dislocation, split sentences, topic focus particles, and intonation. Since Avestan is not a language spoken anymore, we are of course unable to investigate the way intonation was employed in Avestan. Moreover, major portions of the Avesta consist of highly stylized and formulaic material, which was certainly far removed from the ordinary spoken language. However, it is still possible to track down certain devices used to mark, for instance, topicalized and focused constituents in a clause in Avestan. On the following slides, I will illustrate some ways of marking focus in particular. Fronting, or the alignment of the focused constituent with the left clause boundary, is frequently employed in Avestan to mark focus. In many, if not most cases, the fronted constituent is accompanied by a focus particle. Thus, in this example here, from the Old Avesta, the indirect object huchshathrotemai, to the best ruling one, which would usually follow the direct object kshathrem, is moved to the clause initial position. A focus particle ba follows. Thus we get huchshathrotemai ba at kshathrem dadmahi. Now, to the best ruling one, and not to someone else, do we give the rule. A focused constituent may also be backed to the end of the clause. Ayar, noid irish vishiata daiva china. Between these two, ayar, especially the daivas, or the old gods, daiva china, do not distinguish noid vishiata rightly or correctly, irish. To find out which of the constituents of a clause is focused, it is helpful to ask what imaginary question the clause might give an answer to. This clause here can be thought of as answering the imaginary question, who does not distinguish correctly between the two? The constituent containing the answer to the question is daivachina, not even the daivas. Although daivachina is the subject of the clause, it is moved to the end of the sentence to mark its focused status. Luckily, some parts of the Avesta are composed in the form of a series of questions and answers. This means that because the question underlying an assertive sentence is given, it is easy to determine which of the constituents in the answer must be focused. Thus, in a Young Avestan text called the Videvdat, Zarathustra asks Ahura Mazda the following question. Kachmai pauirio mashianam apirse tum yo Ahura Mazda anyo mana yat Zarathustra. With whom of the mortals had you first conversed, you, Ahura Mazda, other than with me, Zarathustra? In the reply, the focused constituent is again fronted. But this time, this involves a sort of split sentence construction, with the focused constituent resumed later in the sentence by a demonstrative pronoun. Yimai srirai huonthwai, ashaum Zarathustra, achmai pauirio mashianom apirse. With beautiful Yima, who has good herds, and this is also the reply to, or that contains the information for which was asked in the preceding question. With beautiful Yima, who has good herds, O Zarathustra, partaker in Asha, Asham Zarathustra. With him, Achmai, had I first conversed of all the mortals. So here our last video on Avestan syntax comes to an end. I hope you have enjoyed watching these videos, and I encourage you to also engage with the text samples which we put together. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.